We're in a weird part of the election cycle. We're in the part that it's supposed to be over. There's not supposed to be any concerns, any thoughts, any any objections anymore. We're there. We are 2 days from Congress certifying the votes of the Electoral College. And what do we see? Contestation, dissent in the ranks. We see Proud Boys fighting alongside Antifa and starting to go the way of F the police. We're seeing a breakdown of the American system. Now, is that a bit dramatic? Of course it is. Are we going to see some sort of large calamitous conflict? Maybe. I'm predicting sometime after this electoral college vote, sometime in February, we will see some sort of kickoff to a official fighting in the streets, official lines having been drawn, official civil conflict, Civil War II. I think so. That's what I'm predicting. That's the dominoes falling the way I see it. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. But on one side, we have Democrats who, depending on your point of view, either want a fair and square election. um, I need to, I need to, I need to get inside the heads of some of these people who can look at their leadership saying, hey, listen, there's always voter fraud, but it wasn't widespread enough to affect the election, and go, what kind of logical leap is that? If there's always voter fraud and you know that there's voter fraud, then why are we not pausing things and parsing out the voter fraud from whatever else happened? If you have people dissenting and you know there's always voter fraud, what are you doing? Why are we not stopping and going, hey, 71, 72, 74 million people have an objection. They have concerns. Like nearly half the country, at least half of the voting population has a concern about the voter fraud that you say always happens. Why are we not trying to sort that out? But Democrats will have you believe by fair or foul they won. And Trump, well, how can you certify an election when the numbers being certified are verifiably wrong? You'll see the real numbers tonight during my speech, but especially on January 6th at Senator Tom Cotton. Republicans have pluses and minuses, but one thing is sure, they never forget. Trump is the other side of this. Trump is the side that thinks there's no way he lost. Trump is, I'm not going to say he's directly calling for some sort of action, but he's definitely pushing things in that direction. And let's play this out for just a second. Let's say Trump, right or wrong, gets his way. The election is disputed. The results are disputed. Enough Republicans in Congress, and perhaps even some Democrats, dispute the vote. It's put to a vote. And then we have a contested election, or we have contested election results. Then what happens? Then we go to the state electorates, right? The state districts that vote in Congress. Trump wins. Well, now you have, what did Joe Biden get? 76, 78 million votes? You have 78 million people who are now either disenfranchised, depending on your point of view, or at bare minimum, are angry. They don't get the president they chose. What do we do about this? Where else does this lead besides some sort of conflict? I don't know, man. This is my thought process. These are the options I see playing out. And if Trump refuses to accept the results, what do we do? That's a real question. Trump has millions of people literally willing to crawl through mud and broken glass to vote for him. What happens if he says, I'm not leaving? And it's time for people to take up arms and fight. Tyranny is here. All you 2A people, NRA enthusiasts, so on and so forth, all of my supporters, this election is illegitimate. Government tyranny has come. It's time to exercise your Second Amendment rights and fight for your freedoms. What happens then? Do you see people? I know people. I personally know people that as soon as Trump says that, they will pick up a gun, they will go to where he tells them to go, and they will fight violently, mercilessly. Because I know people on both sides. I know people who think there's no way Trump could have won this election. It's not possible. And there's people who think there's no way he could have lost. I know people who are in the middle, who did what in all likelihood happened, or in some instances happened in some states. They voted for Joe Biden at the top of the ticket and then voted Republican all the rest of the way down because they want some sort of semblance of normalcy. Tom Cotton, an otherwise staunch ally of the president, announced over the weekend that he would not join nearly a dozen Senate Republicans and more than 100 House members in challenging the Electoral College results. Wednesday, in a last-ditch attempt at awarding Trump a second term, he did not win, Politico says. In his statement, Cotton dismissed the gambit, flatly noting that objecting to certified Electoral College votes won't give him a second term. Instead, it'll backfire on Republicans. The founders entrusted our elections chiefly to the states, not Congress. They entrusted the election of our president to the people, acting through the Electoral College, not Congress. Okay, let's pick that apart for just a second and be real here. I love our system. I do. I think the American system is the way to govern. I really do. We are given God-given rights protected by the Constitution. The government is not allowed to take those away. And there's arguments in there about infringements of all sorts. And yes, we can have those arguments, but let's be real. At the end of the day, we still have those rights printed in the Constitution and available. However, our founding fathers did not trust the people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have an electoral college. They trusted the people to vote in a way, and then they trusted better men, as it were, to elect the president, thus the electors. Does the system work? Yes, so far, hundreds of years the system has worked. It's held up. It's stood the test of time. Will it continue to do so? That's the question, isn't it? Should America continue being a single entity when we all hate each other? Trump also lobbed a more general attack at Republicans who have disavowed the effort. A group that includes former House Speaker Paul Ryan, who said it's difficult to conceive of a more anti-democratic and anti-conservative act. The surrender caucus within the Republican Party will go down in infamy as weak and ineffective guardians of our nation who are willing to accept the certification of fraudulent presidential numbers, Trump tweets. Two incumbent Republicans, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Johnson defended the bid to reverse Biden's electoral victory, arguing that Republicans cannot ignore the legitimate concerns about unsubstantiated allegations of widespread voter fraud put forth by Trump and his allies. From my standpoint, we simply cannot dismiss the concerns of tens of millions of Americans who that have suspicions. What we're saying is let's delay accepting a particular state's electors until we actually investigate what the issues in that particular state are. I can agree with that statement, but we had a timeline for this. And at every turn, the various lawsuits were thrown out, not for evidence, although some were, of course, but primarily for procedural grounds. People who have no standing. In the Texas case, Texas versus the various states, the swing states, Supreme Court said that Texas does not have the grounds to sue said states, to even bring that case before the Supreme Court. What do when you tell people who have legitimate concerns, you tell half of the voting population or half of the total vote numbers that their votes and their concerns about the other side's votes are illegitimate? Meanwhile, over the last 4 years, we've listened to nothing but bile spewed from Democrats about how Trump is not their president, how Trump didn't legitimately win. Russiagate, Ukrainegate, impeachment. I don't think this leads any place positive. Not even a little bit. That's all I got for today, boys and girls. Take care of yourselves. Prepare yourselves for what may come. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.